Let's start by looking at the sonnet. So the sonnet has specific rules, which is what makes it a sonnet. It's usually 14 lines written in iambic pentameter. So again, that iambic pentameters can be 5 feet or 5 iambs. And then we have a specific rhyme scheme depending on which sonnet you are looking at. We are going to look at two today, the Shakespearean sonnet and the Petrarchan sonnet. But I want to mention that even though we have these rules, sometimes these rules are broken. And usually when the rule is broken, that signifies that there's something going on in the poem. There's a reason why the poet broke the rule. And maybe it's just because they needed to use a certain word and it didn't fit within the iambic pentameter. And so we might see some variations throughout. With modern sonnets, you might even see more variations, even with maybe no rhyme scheme or a totally different rhyme scheme. So know that even though sonnets have certain structures to them, some of the rules are more fluid. So let's begin with the Shakespearean sonnet. You can see that this is 14 lines, and we have this rhyme scheme of A, B, A, B, C, D, C, D, E, F, E, F, G, G. So what we're seeing is the first and third rhyme, day and May, the second and fourth, temperate, date. You'll notice that day and May is that natural rhyme, where temperate and date is that slant rhyme. So this pattern continues throughout. Then we get that final couplet at the end, which is two lines that rhyme. We see see and thee. And with a sonnet, usually you have some type of resolution. So in Shakespeare, the resolution is seen in that final couplet, whereas we can see in the Petrarchan sonnet by Edna St. Vincent Millay, we have that resolution in the last 6 lines. So we're seeing maybe a call to action, or we're seeing a story, and we're seeing it resolved towards the end. So let's go through the Shakespeare sonnet and look at the structure of it, the rhyme scheme, and that iambic pentameter. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Now, it might look like it's starting with shall, which is that stressed syllable. And I think you could argue that it is stressed on the shall. But if we look at it through the lens of iambic pentameter, we'd read it as, shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So we can see that kind of flow going through this line. Now, there are some lines that doesn't work when we get to sometime too hot. So sometime is going to be that trochee where both lines or both syllables are stressed. So again, it doesn't follow the pattern exactly, but we do see a pattern emerge. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. So what is going on already in this poem? Well, what this is Shakespeare is speaking to a young man who he really delights in, and he is encouraging that man to get married and to have children. So he's comparing this man to a summer's day, and he will continue this throughout the poem. So shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. So when we're looking at hath all too short a date, it's like summer goes by pretty quickly. If we think of summer as this boy's youth, it also will fade quickly. Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often his gold complexion dimmed, and every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. So again, time is going on here. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest, nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when internal lines to time thou growest. So he's saying that you don't have to die, you don't have to fade with summer. And the way that you do this is to have children who will carry your face or carry similarities of you throughout time. So long as men can breathe, their eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Okay, so we see that couplet at the end that is finishing the poem. As long as people exist, then we see this life that's going on. Let's move to the Petrarchan sonnet by Edna St. Vincent Millay. We can see a different rhyme scheme here. Here we have A, B, B, A, A, B, B, A, C, D, E, D, C, E. Okay, so we see the first and the fourth, the fifth and the eighth, they all rhyme together. And then we have the second, third, the sixth, and the seventh all rhyme. And then we get this pattern of CDE and then a mixture DCE going into that final stanza. What lips my lips have kissed and where and why I have forgotten, and what arms have lain under my head till morning. But the rain is full of ghosts tonight that tap and sigh upon the glass and listen for reply. And in my heart there stirs a quiet pain for unremembered lads that not again will turn to me at midnight with a cry. So she's really thinking about past loves, past kisses, past times of laying with different men in her past. And now we kind of get that resolution. Thus in a winter stands the lonely tree, nor knows what birds have vanished one by one, yet knows its boughs more silent than before. I cannot say what loves have come and gone. I only know that summer sang in me a little while, that in me sings no more. So this is really showing that she's alone now. She's thinking of past loves, and she realizes that that time in her life is over, and now she is feeling the bitterness of being alone. Hopefully, you can enjoy these poems and see the messages that they're giving and the ways that they're kind of forming these messages. And that's something that makes poetry different than prose. Is prose, we're just writing in paragraphs, we're just writing, straight out sentences. Poetry, we're thinking about combinations of words and how they sound. And in doing this, we create something maybe a bit more beautiful, a bit more aesthetic, something more pleasing to hear.